Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
Do you remember a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this stretch of games and we said, well, it'd be really nice if the Wings could go 500 on this stretch? Remember that, Mike? Those were good times. He's my guy, Sean Baligian.
Wasn't that cute? Pump the
time.
brakes, we said. Pump the brakes because it's going to get real tough now. So don't get your hopes too high.
Wow. And listen, I know people don't want to hear it. I'll still say pump the brakes. People are still getting out of control with this, but give them full marks for this 7-game streak, who they beat and where they won those games. I mean, Mike, there's no two ways about it. This has been an impressive streak.
Yeah, and saying pump the brakes isn't anything negative. I don't think we can go out and really say anything negative at this point. We can kind of say pump the brakes because they are, well, I'm sure you're aware. I say I don't know, and I know you're always aware of things, that exactly 1 year ago today, Sean, they were sitting in the exact same spot. They were in 7th place in the wild card. So they were in the playoffs. Their record was 26-18-6. The only difference in the record is the compressed schedule right now because they're going to have the 2 weeks off. So it's no different than where we were, right at the same spot where a lot of people started to flip and say, I think we're going to make the playoffs, Sean.
And, Mike, I can't help but think I remember 2 years ago when for that one glorious day, they were in that final playoff spot. And then remember they had that home and home with Ottawa. And it was almost a reminder of how far yet they were to go and all of that. But hey, listen, I'm not going to rain on anybody's parade. It is not easy to win 7 straight. It is not easy to be on the kind of tear that they've been on. And it's interesting because somebody posed this to me the other day, and I gave my answer, but I'm going to kind of throw it at you. Is this an indictment of just how bad things were under Lalonde? Is this an indictment that maybe the talent was better than we thought? How do we try to put this into perspective when let's face it, Mike, we're a month and a half closing in on 2 months of Coach McClellan at the helm.
I mean, it's tough to say it was that bad under. I think you can say it just got that stale because let's not forget, again, this team was in the same position under Lalonde with a very similar roster last year. I think it's just maybe we're seeing right now how good McClellan is. And let's not skip over the Trent Yawney.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy that, because when we go and we actually start talking about this, everything that we were concerned about is kind of fixed right now. And the big thing, Sean, from the opening show that we had, our big concern was that PK. That PK right now over this stretch, which, and we can say is when Trent Yawney's got his hands on it, is right there. It's above the NHL average and would be ranked number 1, except for how bad the start was. So much improved. So the coaching right now is what is shining through, in my opinion.
Sometimes, Mike, and I know this is, and overall, let's not forget that PK is still at the bottom. It is. There's no doubt about that. Mike, these are things that we didn't talk about in our generation, and I think especially what you do for a living, you'll probably adhere to this. We're at a point in time where a lot of times a change is needed almost from a psychological standpoint, right? This just looks like an entirely different team. And individuals, a lot of the individuals, not all of them, But a lot of the individuals just look like different players all of a sudden, look more engaged, look better, look more confident. And I know the easy thing is to applaud Coach McClellan for screaming, just go out and play bleeping hockey and everything. But maybe there's more validity to that than any of us want to give credence to.
Yeah, and we almost need to make that a T-shirt, just play fucking hockey. And it goes for everything. But you hit it on the head, Sean. If you could go back and pull tape of interviews in December, they not only looked like a dead team on the ice, they sounded like a dead team off the ice. The enthusiasm, I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, the enthusiasm in Patrick Kane's voice in an in-between period interview of a game was just refreshing. Like they want to be there. They're excited to play hockey. So psychologically, absolutely. If you want to be there, psychologically, you're there. You got the mental game under control. You're going to be a different team.
Lots of comments to get to. Our buddy Tom in London. Excuse me, guys. I've had this frog in my throat for 5 gosh damn days. That was a good trip out in the Wild West. Dave said, likewise, it's been good, but got to keep playing well. And then Tom added, nice hat, Mike. We didn't even plan it that way. I mean, there's an even money chance that I'm going to be wearing something like that anyway, but we got the Battle of Quebec going on right now, Mike.
And after we talked about it last week and we showed how we ended the show last week, I thought it would be fitting.
Can I throw something out there? And I know for people out there that aren't aware, Mike gets up at like 4:00 in the morning every day. That's like not an exaggeration. Mike, you're like legitimately up at like 4:00 in the morning, right?
Yep. Yes.
I think one of the most fascinating things, especially in the game of hockey, is when people want to declare a 19 or 20-year-old a bust. I don't know why it is one of the funniest gosh damn things I have ever heard. Oh, look at Coach Nugent jumping in. Props to you, Nuge. Mike, honest to God, from all my years working with the Whalers and the couple of years that I worked with the NTDP, when I would see a kid get drafted and maybe he didn't go straight to the league, more often than not, they don't, but they would go here, they would go there, and they weren't doing that which they did in their last year in the O, or that which they did their last year in the USHL. And I start hearing people throw around the B word and talking about bust. I can't help but giggle. And as I was watching Shane Wright last night, okay, and you were in, Mike, this is a guy that people were calling a bust 2 years ago. Legitimately, they were calling him a bust 2 years ago. And for a lot of people, it was almost a foregone conclusion that he was a bust just last year. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Sean Wright is going to be everything that people thought he would be. Remember, people thought he would be the number 1 pick in the draft, and then he slid to, 4, 5? I forget off the top of my head, but I know he slid a little bit. A lot of people thought he would just going there, as a matter of fact. But I'm sorry, it is one of the most fascinating things to me, and I know Coach Nuge is in there, and you've seen it. The people that think that they have development figured out just make me giggle over and over. I mean, we are constantly reminded that no two players develop on the same plane.
No, and what does that even mean? I mean, the expectations that is put on these guys right away. Because if you think about it, you're saying, a year ago, 2 years ago, when he started to fall in the draft, as the draft was coming, they started almost calling this kid a bust.
Yep.
This is an 18-year-old kid, and all these kids not only develop physically, but mentally differently, and then develop within the game. And it takes a while. That's like, it's always a shock, especially on the defensive end, right? I mean, how often do you see a Rasmus Dahlin come in and play the way he did as a young kid? Those kids usually need some time. And just because it takes time doesn't mean they're a bust. And we talk about it a lot, Sean, here, the expectations that Detroit fans will put on guys, that is a little bit bigger than what they are, right? People do it all. you can say, right, here's a perfect example of doing that. Like, oh, I saw this kid in the dub, right? He's unbelievable. He's going to score 100 points as soon as he gets in the NHL. Those are our unrealistic expectations before the kids ever step foot on the ice. And that's almost a discredit to the game and how hard the game actually is. So I'm right there in the same boat with you when you start hearing the B word.
Well, and it's interesting, and I promise so many Wings things to get to, but I had to point that out because Shane Wright was one of the best players on the ice last night. I think he was the second star. I think they gave the first star to Kane, if I'm not mistaken. He was the second star. I think 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. You know what? Give me a second. Let me fact check myself. Tom was absolutely right. Tom said Shane Wright was at number 4. So always go with your first instinct, and I was right when I said he went number 4. But right last night, Mike, 2 goals. I've seen him a few times. The one thing that jumps out to me, and this is one thing that you cannot put a price tag on, okay? You cannot put a price tag on. He looked like a guy that had no confidence. He really did. He looked like he confidence is so important. I don't care what anybody says. And this is why I go into the word psychologist and start talking about that. Shane Wright looked like a guy that knew he belonged with the Seattle Kraken. The last couple times I've seen him, I've seen him 3 times now in the past week and a half. I'm not saying he's going to become that which he was drafted to be. Mm-hmm. But when people throw around the bust about a 21 freaking year old man, like pump the brakes just a little bit, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, you get into it and it just gets to these unrealistic expectations we put upon kids, generational and all these things. And you've got to be the number 1 pick. This kid, we saw him do that. It's such a different game at the NHL level. And the confidence is going to come from if he's not in a position where he's comfortable being and these expectations are too great on him. So we see it all the time. So what really the story that needs to be is how he overcame this, because that not everyone does that. I mean, you look at I can't think of the first name, Patrick, the guy that over in Philadelphia, he was supposed to go number 1. Was it oh my God, I just lost his name. But he was with Philadelphia. He's gone. He's out, right? I mean, He had some head injuries and stuff, but it was very similar in the way he entered the league. But you got to give these guys a chance.
Lafreniere. And I'm not saying that Lafreniere is ever going to be a stud. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. I don't think he's ever going to be what he was drafted to be, okay? Right. But he's turned into a pretty good player. He has, Mike. I mean, you score 20 some odd goals, you get 50 some 60 points or whatever. Yes, I get it. I don't think he's ever going to be that guy, but this is a guy that people, oh my gosh, he doesn't belong in the National Hockey League, and all of that crap, man.
And they're both sitting on, I think, I'm looking right here, Lafreniere's got 31 points. It's not the 60, 70, 80 points that everyone projected him out to be. Sean, there's a guy right now in a town called New Jersey leading his team in Hughes, that his first couple of years were rough, and they were saying the same thing about him. He was too little. He shouldn't have been taken so high. Look at him. They expect these guys to come out the chute scoring 100 points, right? What is wrong with 31 points in 52 games? Know what's wrong with it, Sean? It's not what the experts said that they would get because of what they saw them in juniors.
You got it.
That's all that it is.
A couple other comments. Mike Brown said, Gordy Brown had that same hat when he was over at my house. Is that Gordy Brown, the coach, our buddy who's been on this show? I'm surprised Gordy hasn't worn that hat around me to taunt me because he knows what a Habs fan I am. David said, what do you guys think of Mathieu Olivier from the Blue Jackets, and what would the Wings need to give to pick him up? I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know his game very well, but he's 20. He's up there. Now I got to look it up. Gosh damn it. Hold on. Keep your thoughts for just a second.
I got you.
27, right? He's 27. Fact check me. I think he's 27.
He's a 97. He'll be 28 in a week.
Okay, cool. You know what? 6'1", 220 pounds, big body, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is the one thing that I would say when we start to have these conversations. I know Columbus has faded a little bit, but you know what they're saying right now in Columbus? We have just as good a shot as anybody, because now the NHL, guess what? We're in that selling hope thing. Okay. You have Rangers, you have Montreal, you have Islanders who suddenly got red hot under Patrick Roy. You have Columbus, and yes, you still have Boston, who, by the way, I don't think is going to make it. You still have all those teams saying, we got a shot. We're in there. So I think that's what we're looking at, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking all the way down to Philadelphia. You're only 7 points out. Anybody can do it. So that just means you don't know who's going to be buyers or sellers. I think Columbus, who's been up there as high as the 7th spot, I think they're going to say, and I don't see them being sellers. I don't see them selling out on young guys. And it's going to be interesting now where the Wings are, Sean. Now we have to talk about being players and how do they make something meaningful fit that doesn't greatly impact the progress and where they want to be.
Right. Nuge said Dustin Wolf in Calgary, 214, 214th overall in 2019, 23 years old. 214th overall. Think about that. 214th overall. It's unbelievable. I don't think we'll ever see those days again, by the way, Mike, for what it's worth.
No, but I mean, if he's talking about like going after, I mean, that's a commodity right there. You don't get rid of that, right?
Let me just declare, I don't think we're going to see the Cam Ward, the Carey Price, the Patrick Roy. I just don't see somebody handing over the reins to a 20-year-old goaltender. 23 seems to be about as young as it's going to get now, right? Yes. It just seems like people just take their time as opposed to just saying, okay, here's the reins. Let's see what happens and everything. And, you know, those 3 guys that I mentioned, 2 of those guys won Stanley Cups at the age of 20. And heck, Price led the Habs to number 1 in the East that year. I don't think those days are happening. And to your point, absolutely. Now a guy like that, that's a huge, huge piece of gold. I mean, you literally stole a bunch of gold from Fort Knox with something like that.
Absolutely. And usually what you'll see right there, like that, them getting rid of Markstrom shocked me, because usually you have that guy that sits there for a little bit as the Wolf and those guys come up. And then as that contract ends, this guy comes in a couple of years, which is what we're talking about with, is it going to be Kosa and Augustine? How are they going to run it? Who's going to be the guy in front of Augustine to do it for us? Usually could it be Cam Talbot? I don't know. I mean, I went through his history this year, Sean. It's going to be interesting. Again, we'll say it again, pump the brakes. We've got to see what's coming, because I don't know if there's one thing I think I could say is not going to be sustainable. It's the goaltending that we've been seeing.
I don't think you and I had a conversation about this, but getting back to the Wings and young players, Marco Kasper was unbelievable in the month of January. Like seriously, I don't know if people paid attention to how good that kid was. He's not 21 for a couple months yet. Mike, I think it might be time to have a conversation and ask you guys as well. What do you think about some of the pieces with this franchise right now? Let me start right there with Kasper, because, you know, in case people missed it, he had 12 points in the month of January, 7 goals, 5 assists. Seems to be way ahead of the curve. Again, here comes that pump the brakes a little bit. You're going to see this out of some young players. But, Mike, what do you think about Kasper so far?
I like him, and I like the story of he's one of these guys that, as the end of the loans time was coming, Kasper was one of these guys that we were saying, well, where are these pieces that we supposedly have? Where are these guys that were in Grand Rapids? Where's this young guy at? Look at him. He's sitting on the 4th line, which is something that we can't even talk about how many times this happens to young kids. When they never get that chance, lo and behold, some injuries happen. Here's this chance this kid gets, and he pumped new life into Larkin and Raymond. And so we could talk about Casper's 12 points, but what Larkin looks unstoppable, Sean. The life is back in him, and that line has just taken over. So I like that part of it. Like, it's not only just him, and yeah, here's this kid that we drafted, but what he's brought to that line and what he has shown, he's just a player. He's got a nose for the net. He gets to the net, and I think he's going to be a good one.
You know, it's interesting, and you talked about this earlier when you talked about they look and sound different. I still remember that soundbite going around of Dylan Larkin. Remember when they brought Sebastian up, and he looked like he got hit by a truck, and he basically came out, and you and I talked about it on one of the shows. When your captain comes out and says something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact quote. We needed a breath of fresh air. We needed a pick-me-up. We thought Sebastian provided us a pick-me-up, and then they sent him back down. You know, and that to me, I mean, honestly, that if that wasn't an indictment of where things were at, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall. That was just despair, right? But that's what we were talking about, just going back a month and just not watching the team. Listen to the team. I mean, the stories leak out here and there about what the locker room even sounded like or looked like in between periods in game day. But this is one of those shot in the arms. And I mean, Nuge is talking about Nate Danielson. I mean, as we know, the Wings have their way, and their way is not going to change. And when you see them bringing up guys like was it Shine? The kid that had been there forever, and Danielson's that. So it just tells you there's a little bit more development there. But when these kids come up and they get that top 6 opportunity, that is what Dylan Larkin is saying. Like, sometimes it just gets a little old. The guys are the guys. You're going through the ringer right there. Some of these young guys bring that shot of life to them, man.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't want to surprise you right now, but you know what? As a matter of fact, I'll tell you ahead of time. I'm going to ask you your thoughts on Elmer when we come back.
Okay.
All right. But first, let me tell you about the Wealth Advantage Group. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group. And those two guys right there, the Hanson brothers, Mike Husak on the left, Jeff Husak on the right. They are located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those Hanson brothers I was just telling you about, with over 20 years of industry experience. And they understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. And that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life, and they have clients in over 20 different states. Look, guys, they're friends of mine. They've taken care of me and my family. I guarantee you they will take care of you. The investment world is a complex one, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574. Check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Mike, this is the fun part, because as Nuge said, and we've heard a lot of these names for so long. And for some people, it kind of turned into the Detroit Tiger mythological creature thing, right? Well, you heard these names for so long, and when are we going to finally see them? And you're starting to see some of them. Elmer Soderblom was one of those names that you heard for a while. Maybe not as much as you heard some other names, but trust me, I know how everybody and their brother is now a talent evaluator. It is amazing to me. Sorry for the roll eye. There were a lot of people talking about him. What has jumped out to you about Elmer?
Well, you go back to, and this is something this is going to be off subject, but on subject. It's going to be interesting to watch going forward, because there's Soderblom when he first came up, like last year, he got his cup of coffee and stuff. And then there's what he's doing now. And are we seeing Todd McClellan? Is he like a rookie whisperer? Is there something in here where he can get these guys going? He's got that experience, something that Lalone couldn't do. Because from the moment Elmer came back up this time, the word I used when someone asked me about him at work, Sean, was chaos. He's a perfect fourth line guy. He's got the size, he's got the length, he's got everything that he can go out there and he can stop guys. He can get in the way. He can get in front of the net. He can cause chaos in the defensive. He's doing all that. He's doing everything he has to do. Now, as injuries go and he has to move up, be it his minutes and everything, I don't know if he's there. But what he does on that fourth line, Sean, and what he adds to that fourth line, if you could put him in like a, me and my Rasmussen, that could be another, like that size on the fourth line with a snotty guy like Veleno or something like that. That fourth line right there, love it. And Soderblom's size, length, and what he can do in the offensive zone is going to be exciting.
You know what? Honest to God, we did not have this conversation in any way, shape, or form. But Mike, honestly, I kind of feel the exact same way. His length, his size, that reach means he's an NHLer. Okay, I would caution people in this town to avoid the time-honored trap that we do across the board in this town. It is unbelievable to not put him on a pedestal that he doesn't belong. If you're thinking of him in the same light that you're thinking of, some of these other players, Casper, Danielson, you are going to be greatly disappointed. That's not his game. I think he's shown he's an NHLer, Mike. I always caution people, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't go down slap dick road and start writing checks for this guy and everything. His reach in particular, it was amazing when I was at, I still want to call it the Joe, when I was at Little Caesars Arena a couple of weeks ago, and you see it up close and personal, I'm not sure the TV gives you the depth perception that you see when you're there. And it has to be accounted for when he leans forward with those long arms and the long stick. I mean, he can create havoc, to your point.
And he's got to perfect that. And that's where fourth line minutes and a ton of practice time is going to get this guy to use that. I had to look it up, his weight, 6'8", 246. He's got to play 6'8", 246, every inch of it and every pound of it. And again, chaos, havoc, whatever you want to call it, that is exactly what he can. It's what he's got to do. He doesn't have to fight. He's not a fighter, not going out here and fight. He's just got to go out there and he's got to use that body. He's got to make the other guys on the ice know that he's on the ice.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch. It is amazing what can happen over the span of a month. And Mike, if I may, can I pat myself on the back? And Shep was kind enough to say it the other day. I know nobody wanted to hear it. This was the judgment year. It was. This was the judge. I probably said it to you half a dozen times in the last 3 years, every other week, to be honest with you. This was, people don't want to hear it, but as I said, I had two different general managers in the National Hockey League, one in the West, one in the East, tell me point blank, it's 5 years. You like, really? I know nobody wants to hear it. You got to see where this is going in 5 years. So to me, the clock legitimately started on Steve Yzerman in the fall. And I know people don't like to hear that. Maybe they don't agree with it. I'm just telling you that is the common thought process amongst a lot of general managers. And right now, all of a sudden, you can sit back and go, all right, I see where you're going with this. They're not ready to compete yet. And when I say compete, you know what I mean by compete. They might make the playoffs this year. I'm talking about a legitimate, let's go win 8, 9, 10, God forbid 12 games in the Stanley Cup playoff.
Yeah, you've got to be happy as a Wings fan as we stand right now, because they're a problem. All right. No one wants to see the Red Wings right now, Sean. Let's be honest. Like they're that what I say, pesky, feisty team that no one wants to play. They're playing real well. They're playing real hard. Now, the disappointment comes in that we thought we'd be a lot further than that. We thought we'd be further and we wouldn't be as behind the 8 ball with as many pieces as we still need. But you got to be happy with where it's at now, as again, pump the brakes with that enthusiasm, because you're about to embark on the hardest schedule that is remaining in the NHL. So this is a real test time. Again, it's very similar to where we were. Not even very similar. It's identical to where we were last year. And we got really excited. And then we crashed real hard. And then we got really excited just to come up short. We have to take that next step. We can't have that crash in the middle of this. So this obviously, this next stretch, Captain Obvious is extremely important.
David said, look at all the young guys from Mo to Elmer. They've all contributed since the Todd father has come in. Casper, Johansson, Edvinson, even Berggren. Is there another team that has so many young guys contributing and nobody has won more games in January? It is amazing. It was like what Montreal did in December, Detroit did in January. Yeah. And I've been saying it forever. I know you're going to accuse me of being a slapdick, and I don't care. That's the cool thing about watching this switch in the Atlantic. And at least I've been consistent. You've seen Montreal, Ottawa, and Detroit kind of go like this at different points in time. Ottawa appears to be ahead of the game right now, but go look at their lineup and how many young guys they have. And that's, to me, that's the fun part. Mike, I keep using the line, Boston has begun their initial descent. They really have. I don't know how Sweeney's going to pull the Bruins' ass out of the fire this time. I don't think Tampa's that far from beginning their initial descent, but when you have Cooch and you have Vasilevsky, you're going to give yourself an honest chance. But no, it is so funny to me right now. Hey, who's got more points, the Ottawa Senators or the Tampa Lightning? You know what I mean? I mean, that's where we're at right now. You know, you've got Ottawa kind of knocking on the back door of the Maple Leafs, who are just waiting for any excuse to gag once the playoffs start. You know, I mean, I'm not even being funny when I say that. No. Every gosh damn Leaf fan knows it.
And they can't, like when we were on last week or 2 weeks ago, Tavares slipped on, I think you at one point said about Yzerman, on a chapstick that he dropped on the ice during practice there, and he got hurt. He was out. Marner's out now. Matthews was out for a long time. So the Leafs are going to do Leaf things. But it's just one of these, every time I get up, and you know, like you said, I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm in bed at 8 p.m. I miss a lot of stuff, and I pull up the standings. It kind of makes me feel, because Sean, me and you have been talking about Ottawa, Montreal, and Detroit. Of course, we booted it on Buffalo. Buffalo was another one in there. These are these guys we've been talking about, and here we are with Detroit and Ottawa in the position that they're on. Montreal taking a little bit of dip from the up that they were on, but again, we can agree, not you being a slapdick, we can agree that we like what we see out of them.
Larkin seems so invested every game, every shift, gives a lot of energy. I have a lot of respect for him. I'm going to say it again. I know people hear what they want to hear. I don't think he's a 1C. I don't think he's ever going to be a 1C, but I would go to war with a guy like that. Seriously, Mike, I'm so serious when I say that. I respect the heck out of his game.
Yeah, and not to jump off that one, there's something this Albert Johansson, Austin's talking about here, Sean. I mean, seriously, like I could have my pants down and doing the Penguin like you were last week. I love watching this guy's game. You know, not the biggest guy. He's always involved in it. And he started off a little bit rough. He was that minus. I think he's still a minus hockey, but I think he's a +5 in his last week playing. So Austin, you're on. I love that guy too. There's a guy I go to war for.
Yep. Couple things before, and gosh, I got to do a read. And then we got to talk about Ovechkin. Mike, he's going to do it. You've accepted it, right? Like it's like I went kicking and screaming. You know, I didn't think it was going to happen. He's going to do it. He might do it this year. Let's be honest.
Okay. That's what I wanted to see, because if there's anything I respect to your talk, Sean, it is a betting angle. And I've been looking at the odds if he's going to do it this year, and then when he's going to do it.
What's the number at? I'm intrigued.
That it's got to be down now, because this was about 5 goals ago. So plus 200, so 2-1 to do it this year.
I do it.
And then you've got whether it be an even strength power play or shorthanded. At one time, I think they play Winnipeg like the third to last game, and they were 100. It was 100-1 to happen on that game, just because of how good they are defensively. And would he be? And I was looking to throw on that, but I don't have none of my apps offer that. But 2-1 right now for him to do it, and that's steadily going down. So he's got what, 18?
Yeah.
In 31. How many games left?
Not
Do you know?
putting past him. Hold on just now. It'd be a lot easier if they put both
53 games. So 29.
I'm not. Did you hear my little line there?
What? What I say?
On his wing and everything would be a lot easier.
Absolutely. Boof.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. Listen. I'm going to get to your comments in just a second. Let me tell you about Legacy Partners. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you and save you money. That's what they did for us, because you know what? A lot of us make this same mistake. Maybe you haven't checked your policies in the last year. You're paying too much. You're underinsured. Things change. You know what doesn't change? Our friends at Legacy Partners. What are you waiting for? Give them a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Mark was watching. That's why I got that shot. Because he was taking shots at me, so I had to give him a shot right back. Is that cool? So let me get to a couple comments, and then I want to get into that. We definitely need a grind line revival. Wings are exciting to watch, boys. Hold on a second. Boy, you guys, I got to keep up with you guys. On that goal last night while celebrating with all, he towered over Kane. Aljo, underrated, fundamentally sound, great gap control and stick work. Love the hat, Mike. I'm going to say this again. I know I'm supposed to hate them, and I did hate them, but I miss them. Does that make sense? I hate them, but I miss them, and I want them back. Really, I'm just convinced it's never going to happen. I appreciate the reality check, Mike, and the reminder of last season, the last couple of years. Let's be honest. Does the way the Wings play more of how bad a coach Lalonde was, or McClellan coaching style more of a better fit for the team? Ray, we talked about that about a half hour ago. I think a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and a lot of bit of psychologists. That was the way that we basically answered it. Austin said, what do you make of those Marchand trade rumors? One of those guys it would be weird to see in another sweater. I think that Sweeney has to do something very desperate, because the cat catches up to everybody. It really does. It catches up to everybody. And for them to be on the run that they've been on for a long time now, even when Chiarelli was their general manager and straight into Sweeney. Granted, it only turned into one cup, Mike, but honest to goodness, for them to be at the high level that they've been at for so long is incredible. But eventually the cap is going to get you. And I think it's about 5 minutes to 12 on that clock.
That cap, father time. It's a team that's played a lot of hockey over the last few years. Everything catches up to you, Sean. And if you could say maybe they're a little stale, maybe they lost some pieces that were a little bit more important than they thought they were.
You think so?
I think so. I think the fire went out real fast with them. I think, like, between the Allmark Swayman, I mean, there was a lot of chemistry within that locker room that I can't speak. I can't say that I'm following Boston, but I mean, the Brusque, I mean, these guys that they moved, all of a sudden it seemed that they were missing just a little bit of something. And could you imagine, Sean, Marchand and Perry in that lineup for Edmonton? You want to play that rat line?
Listen, I watch Corey. People don't know this. Corey was an absolute monster, scoring juggernaut when he played in London. But he had the same rat face and the same rat play. But I know I told you this when the Habs made that run to the Stanley Cup, and his contributions were immeasurable. You don't really appreciate a guy like that until he plays for your team. You just don't. You think you do, but you don't really appreciate him until he plays for your team.
Yep. And going out there one night and you just see Marchand and Perry on the other bench, it's got to be a freaking nightmare.
I am really excited. Nuge, this is one guy I'm really excited about. He said his ASP, far from a wing D-man. I have heard nothing but glowing reports about him. And when I say glowing, I mean glowing reports. And quite frankly, not from the usual suspects, because I know people don't like to hear it. There are a lot of people in this town. This guy's going to win a Calder. This guy's going to win a Norris. This guy's going to win a Hart, et cetera, et cetera. But some people that I trust that I think, Mike, when all is said and done, and I mean no disrespect to Mo, this guy might be the number one. Honestly, he might be the true number one. And again, please don't take that as a slight against Mo. I mean, here's a guy that won a Calder. But I don't know. I think that ASP has the potential, keyword potential. I think that he has the potential to be the number one man's opinion. And I've heard nothing but glowing scouting reports about the guy.
Everything you've seen and everything you hear and everything you read points to that, Sean. But we opened this show talking about, easing those expectations on what it might be. But everything, again, this is a kid. Everything's pointing that way. And I like these kids over in Europe that are playing basically professional hockey over there against men, and they're doing well. They do seem to do a little bit better when they come over.
Sure.
I mean, no different than I'm going to butcher this guy's name, but this is a guy they've been talking about over in the KHLs. Do you know Buchlandnikov? Me and name, Sean. I can barely say Smith. Dmitry Buchlandnikov. Like he's another hot one coming out of the KHL. If they can get him in, all these guys with all this potential, there's a lot of hope there. But Pelika, man, you gotta love what you see. I see a lot more of him.
Ray said everyone is acting like he has to set the record this season. He will be back next season. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be back next season. I like, seriously, none. I think the Washington Capitals are pot invested now, and he's going to be there, and he's shown he can still get it done. To me, that's not the question. The question is, can he get it done before the end of the year? And yes, Mike, honestly, I really truly believe he can. It has been phenomenal, and we're going to have these conversations all over again. I never thought that I would see a guy that would rival Mike Bossy. And Alex Ovechkin's that guy. And Mike Bossy, I know it's almost become trite because so many people from my generation talk him up. It was one of those you had to see him. And we have to include Alexander Ovechkin in every one of those conversations, Mike. We just do. When you're talking about pure goal scorers, he has to be in that conversation.
Yeah. Anytime you're talking about whether it's pure goal scorer, the best goal scorer, one of the best to play the game, Alexander Ovechkin's in that conversation. And I'm talking just all over the game, not just with his goal scoring. I tell the story. I went to a game his rookie year. I took my dad out in Tampa, and I was in awe. I never got to see Gretzky live. I never got to see Lemieux live. I never got to see any of those guys live. Watching Ovechkin play live, Sean, and it was the last game of the season of his rookie year. When he was on the ice, he either got a point, created an opportunity to get a point, created an opportunity for his teammate to get a point, or drew a penalty. And I'm not shitting you. Every time he was on the ice, it was one of the most dominant performances to this day I've ever seen in a hockey player.
He's no Timu Polkanen, but for what it's worth, I think Maple Leaf fan base is their own worst enemy.
So fun.
They are so hard on their team and demand change. Roster is never good enough. Also, pretty sure guys don't want to go there because of the media. Will they ever learn, or will we continue to see them lose? They're such an interesting team to watch from afar for me.
Any messages anyone wants to send to Maple Leaf fan? I am headed to Toronto on Saturday. I'll be in the heart of Toronto, Sean. Anything that you guys anything you guys need me to say?
It is so funny because I know a lot of Leaf fans and they give me a lot of business. I sometimes have to go back and look at their record over the last 40 years and just make sure, just for my own, and my dumb memory, I just have to make sure I didn't miss all those glorious Maple Leaf teams that they talk about. More often than not, they've been a really bad franchise for 4 decades. Really, I'm serious, and I'm not being mean, okay? They had that little time in the 90s. Remember when Pat Burns came there? They had that little time. They went to the conference finals 2 times. Then they it was a decade later, they kind of flirted around for a couple years there, and then they went away for a long time. I mean, bad. So that's the crazy thing about, I guess I would understand it better if they had knocked on the door many, many times. I mean, they just haven't. I mean, Mike, they have a series win, a singular series win in the last, 20 years? And you talk to some of these maniacs, and like I said, it's like, sorry, maybe maniac. No, it is the right word. I'm not striking it. But you talk to some of these people, and it's like, wait, did I miss something? Have I missed something? It's just like, and I get it. They look good right now, even though Ottawa's knocking on their door. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's all about what they do come playoff time. And Mike, the proof's in the pudding there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Every time you bring that up, and I think you bring it up at least weekly to me, that they've only won 1 playoff series. I literally want to call bullshit. Like I really, 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 really do. Every time that is one of the crazier stats, and I love crazy stats like that. Like that's a stat that blows people's minds.
That's awesome, Todd. Well, listen, anytime you can get that shot in, you just go right ahead. And no, so to that point, Austin, I get it. And I always say this, and I know there are a few Maple Leaf fans watching right now. You guys, I'm not even being disrespectful. Like, it'd be one thing if I was trying to take away from some of the talent you had. How can you be disrespectful about their rightful history? You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just, Mike, that's just the way it is. Just in case you were wondering, yes, they won 1 round in 2023. The previous time they won a series was 2024 or 2004. Think about that. That's real. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
So
to
that's
me. In that vein, Austin, I agree with you. It's a fascinating dynamic, the Toronto Maple Leafs across the board. It really is.
So that's why they had to parade after that series.
Yes. Ray said, with no rush in the 4 nations, that will help Ovi with the rest, or could it go the other way and be the rust? Timeless question. It depends who you're talking to. And I know I told you I had a conversation with Chris Chelios that said, if you're hot, you kind of want to keep it going. He goes, if you're a little longer in the tooth, it's not a bad idea to get a little rest.
And especially coming off a broken leg.
And it's horse crap that Russia's not in the 5 nations.
It's bullshit.
It is.
Bullshit.
It's bad. One NHL trade today would be its version of the Luka trade. You have to talk about one of the most talented players in the league, right?
Yeah.
Who maybe hasn't hit. There's questions about his work ethic and maybe hasn't hit his ceiling yet. Who could we compare that to? Because is that fair? Is that fair with Luka? incredibly talented. I mean, if you're just talking talent, I mean, unbelievable. But there's been questions about his conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe a young Mario Lemieux when he was smoking darts. How's that?
Right?
As good as Mario was in his first 4 years, what would have been 84, 85, 85, 86, 86, 87. He went next level after he went to Canada Cup. And the story is he was smoking darts in the locker room, and Gretz and some of the guys were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And Mario went next level after that. I don't know. Is that fair? I don't know. Because that's what people said about Mario. I mean, we can play make believe all we want, but there were a lot of people out there that thought he was a floater and he didn't take great care of himself, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like to replace him, to take the fat questions and the conditioning questions. It's someone that good. I mean, you're talking what? You know me, I'm not a basketball guy. He's what, a top 3, top 5 guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to say, hey, we're going to draft a team right now, he'd probably go what, in the top 5, let's say. From what I've heard to what I listen, I'm thinking of one of the young Maple Leafs. Be it a Marner, be it a Matthews, where they're not going to be the first guy you might want to put. You know what I'm saying? Like they might be the fit, but they could be a top 3, top 5 guys you're going to start a franchise with, and then you bring in a guy at the end of his career. Like, I mean, think of some of the trades they're talking about. Like if they're going to get rid of Marner.
I'm sorry. I think it's insane the way that kid has played this year. Now, last year, I probably would have sent him on his way for his act in the playoff. I honestly, and I would be regretting it immensely right now. But I thought his act in the playoff was disgusting. I just did. Yeah. I mean, we all saw it like on a Saturday night for the whole world to see. You know what I mean? Mike, I can't believe we just did this for 50 minutes. When it's time to get yourself a new house, whether you're buying, selling, or both, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? Alakazam, Alakazoo, Lindsay Broadwell. Not for you. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the main streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. So when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Mike, very quickly before we blow through some last comments, when are you and Blake doing a show? Are you and Blake doing a show this week?
Tomorrow.
Okay, and then you're heading to Toronto for the weekend.
Yes, we head out to a OJHL battle between the Lindsay Muskies and the Pickering something or others. They are battling for 8th place. Lindsay is up by 1 and in 8th place. Muskies. Yep, in the last 3 weeks of the season. So we're going to watch that game. Hudson, let's do it. We're going to watch that game. Then me and Sebi are headed to Toronto to make fun of Maple Leaf fan and see Jack White.
Good for you. Outstanding. I am going to the West Side to go watch the OK Conference tournament. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I'd be right there with you if I was at home, pal.
Eric said, talking hockey, at least, Sean, you have the Habs hat on and not the MSU hockey hat. Tom said Bossy could score goals like crazy. Too bad the back injury. And boy, Mike and I have talked about that more times than you could shake a stick at. If Mario didn't have health issues and missed so much, would Ovi be close to the record? Yes. Can I tell you why? You have to remember why Mario retired. And it wasn't just because of the back. Mario got sick and dang tired of the way the game was played and being hacked and whacked and et cetera, et cetera. I think the best thing that could have happened to Mario was for him to, I wonder if he would even admit it. Mike, honestly, I think the best thing that could have happened would be when Mario left the game and was away for a couple of years and he kind of healed, and then he kind of figured out how much he loved the game of hockey. And he was still dominant when he played when he came back, and it was frightening how good he was, right?
Yes, and we have this conversation all the time. A healthy Lemieux, and I don't know how much Gretzky talk that you hear with all the there's a lot more Lemieux talk, I think.
Yeah. David John said, Bettman, good or good riddance? I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, with no hesitation, the owners love Gary Bettman. They do. They love Gary Bettman.
How can they not? How can they not? Look, he
takes all the pressure off.
He takes all what that, and the league is making hand over fist. I mean, that's.
Yep. Any team that loses to a Zamboni driver will be the punchline of jokes for years. Mike, tell Maple Leaf fan they should stand pat at the deadline and report back on their reaction.
I'm telling you, I will do that.
The ownership in Toronto has cost us more. Also, the cap didn't help. You are absolutely true in both places. But, Ray, I know you and I have had this conversation. I talked to some people, and it's like that era in the late 80s and early 90s, pre-Burns, and then post-Burns, and then the Fergie Jr. era that even though he was there a small time, seemed to last forever. It's almost like that didn't exist, and they've been this close 1,000 times. It's incredible to me. I have some of these conversations. I'm like, huh? Sorry, I don't remember that one, I'm a Leaf fan. It's frustrating, almost like being a Lion fan. Absolutely. Panarin for Marchand would be comparable in today's game. I can't stand Panarin. Sorry. I can't.
So you would love that trade. You would love him on the beach.
Even Vladimir Krutov eating hot dogs.
Oh,
Mario smoking was a bad idea. You know that's my favorite story. It's my favorite.
That right there, comment of the year.
Iavasile, you were supposed to be watching Krutov. Anybody know where he went? I have a pretty good idea. There he is at the hot dog stand, burying hot dog number 8.
The American hot dogs, baby.
Unbelievable. Jeez, oh, Pete. The AI says the 5 disappointing prospects, Lafreniere, Engvall, Kirby Dach this year, absolutely. My goodness, once he got healthy, I thought, all right, because he had shown brief glimpses of it before he got injured, of course, the last couple years, and I thought he was in a position to blow up this year. He's picked it up more recently, but my goodness gracious, talk about going through the motions, and it ended up getting his ass benched for a little bit,
Yeah, but he's come on. He is who he is now, right? It's, again, the top 5 disappointing off of expectations is all that is.
Yeah. All right, let me tell you about All About Catering. All About Catering LLC, full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events. Maybe you're going to be a loser and you want to have a bunch of people over to watch the Four Nations. Just about anything you need catering for, from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Rick and his staff, customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Oh, here's a good question. Ray, 10 games for Hartman deserved, or being a repeat offender not help him? Repeat offender, no doubt in my mind. There's another guy. I got a chance to know him when I did his games when he was with the Whalers. Great guy. I'd take him on my team in a heartbeat. Him on my team in a heartbeat.
Yep. Just got to smarten up.
Oh, I got to tell you, Mike, I think I told you this story, and I hope he's not pissed that I say this. So one year I was doing the MHSAA finals. And maybe it was Hartman's last year, 14, 15, whatever. And he and some of the boys came up there to watch it because the barn was completely packed. And I went to a break and he goes, hey, I got to be honest with you. This isn't bad. And I was like, yeah, we've been saying that for a long time, because I think there's a perception that the only place where you can see good high school hockey is Minnesota, of course. And he said to me, he goes, this isn't bad. It was funny. He and a bunch of the Whalers were sitting there just digging it, sitting there watching that and digging it. It was pretty cool.
Love it.
Will the booing continue during the Four Nations? Probably. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Hey, angry people.
Yeah. Duel in the D. Eric said go color that rhymes with glue. I'll say go green. So there you go. All right. Anything else, Mike, before we get out of here?
No. We've got a game coming up, which is we thought we were going to do it on the 15th. We are now doing it on the 12th, which is on my calendar. But you know now what that makes the 15th, right? Do you remember?
Yeah. It's we're watching the hockey game.
And we're barbecuing.
Yeah, we're barbecuing over my house.
And you saw the picture I sent you, what I found.
No, what did you?
Kroger.
Oh, yeah.
Chili.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Sean.
We have such a good array at the house. We really do, dude. Like you got your shit. I got my shit.
Yep. But I'm telling you, this Kroger brand special, a special release of the chili cheese dog sausage. I'm telling you, it got rave reviews at my last party. So it's going to be that one. And I'm going to bring a Texas Twinkie
I
sausage.
remember that. Yeah.
Brisket sausage with jalapeno, bacon, and cheese in there. And a Philly cheesesteak.
We're going to have the Saturday Sausage Fest. So I have the jalapeno and cheddar. I have the Coney dog. I have the Motor City, and I have chorizo.
So we've got 2 Coney dogs to compare and contrast and enjoy.
And we'll eat every last one of them.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
You know what that means? I just thought about this. Unfortunately, we can't do the show next week. We're not going to be able to do the show next week because we're going to be out at Brighton. Pretty damn good game. Brighton and
6 o'clock, right? Yeah, so I'll be coming in hot.
I was just in the middle of a dream. I was kissing Valentino by a crystal blue Italian stream. All right, we'll see you guys. Mike, thank you. Do you remember the Bengals? Do you remember Susanna Hoffs? Oh, my gosh.
Did she walk like an Egyptian?
She did. She did. All right. Have yourselves a great night. I can't believe we did an hour and 1 minute. Bye. See you. Talked about nothing.
What the Puck with Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Always Pushing Forward by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.